One Piece chapter 1160 is here, and it was fantastic. We got basically a recontextualization of a lot of information that we previously had, as well as an expansion on that information. And it has given me so much more love and so many more questions about many of our characters. First of all, I'm really curious about the Celestial Dragon's response to the Davy Back clan, because typically what we see of the Celestial Dragons when they're introduced to a unique race of people is, ooh, how fun, let me collect it. It'll amplify my personal status if I can show all my friends that I have a Buccaneer. Look how much weight he can lift. Look at how special this is, right? Like we typically see them bragging about their collection of objects. That's how they view a lot of races of people. Yet with the Buccaneers, they scream that they want them dead. Their lives pose a danger to us all. And then there's that really dark panel, lighting-wise and content-wise, where their teeth are sharpened and they're screaming and clawing at the air, shouting, segregate them. Like, they have this very visceral reaction, a literal separate them from the rest of the rare races. The rest of the rare races are not like these ones. These ones must be destroyed. It's an interesting concept because they want to hunt each one for their own glee, for their own entertainment and joy and just sickening self-gratification. They want to manhunt these other races. But for the Davy Backs, no, we're not interested in that. We just want them exterminated. And again, their lives pose a danger to us all. Why? Clearly, the history of the Davy Back, which one of my patrons pointed out that way back in Syrup Village, there was the line, we plundered countless villages, we sent many a rivaled crew down to see Davy Jones. And of course, the Long Rain Long Land also mentioned Davy Jones as like a place down under and things like that. So the legend of Davy Jones has been the place where the souls go to die or something like that. Like there's this ominous sort of idea, but somehow that reputation was formed, and it seems to be under some sort of threat, potentially to the Celestial Dragons themselves, potentially to the entire world. I really want to know more about this. I'm so curious why there was such emphasis put here, and I'm also curious what the tie-in is with the Buccaneers, because clearly the Davy Jones clan is not the same as the Buccaneer clan. Just at a glance, they're not the same. Like Blackbeard and his mom do not look like Buccaneers in scale, in size. You wouldn't make that mistake, yet one of them does. And I don't think that this is commentary on how little attention the Celestial Dragons pay, that they can't tell the difference from race to race. I doubt that that's what, I feel like that was a clue in how the lore behind the Davy Jones clan made their name and earned their extinction or to be extinct status, to be exterminated status. That there must be some sort of tangling with the story of why the Buccaneers have obtained that status and why the Davy Jones have obtained that status. It's just that the Davy Jones, whatever they did, is so strong that they would have this vitriolic response. Did that make sense? I feel like I wasn't clear, but I also feel like I took 10 minutes to say it. Once again, fate is mentioned here, which I find interesting. Garling says that it was fate that he should have found the Davy Jones clan here. He doesn't accept congratulations. He's like, this was destined to be, which I assume means he happened upon them and it just was great fortune, but also fate is a pretty big theme that's brought up a lot, so just making note. Shanks and Shamrock's mom, the woman who waited for Garling to return, who hoped to have a future with him, who believed that she could build a family, and has been betrayed. She now is just desperately clinging to anyone that has stumbled on her path and thinking, you've got to be better than the man who I just realized Garling was. Please take these children, keep them away from him, and get them somewhere safe. And Dragon deserves huge recognition here because he's been tasked to do the same thing as everyone else, and we're really zooming in on how horrified he is by it, trying to rationalize to himself in the last chapter, trying to rationalize to himself, there has to be purpose behind this. Surely this isn't as bad as it appears it is with me having to do all of this terrible stuff. And then the more that he's confronted with it, the more that he sees, he eventually does have to draw a line in the sand. And he actually draws multiple lines in the sand. First, he ends up whisking away these children. I don't know if she directly told him who their father was. I think she must have done. Because even though it doesn't explicitly say it in the text, she does say, find someone kind-hearted to raise them into men. Just don't let him have them. It seems implausible to me that she would say that without specifying who him is. Because for all she knows, he's just going to take him straight to Garling. Or maybe she just thinks no one would think Garling could be a kind-hearted man. But if she said that, there's probably been more conversation that we didn't see, and I assume she must have told him who the children's father was. And if that's the case, Dragon has now whisked away the children of Garling Figurland and is trying to get them away from him. This alone would constitute capture, torture, experimentation. Like, we know what these guys are capable of. Granted, Dragon doesn't, but we do. But Dragon does know that they're capable at least of this. You know, like, he knows he's putting his life on the line for these children. And he's made a choice. He's making a choice here and saying, I don't understand what's happening here fully. I don't know how to process any of these, honestly, but I know that I need to save these kids. And two, also, it's important to note what a sacrifice it is for Dragon to be doing everything that he's doing. You know, he sees all the bodies, he feels sick, he's struggling to keep himself together. And he's also acknowledging that if I make the choices that I've resigned myself to make, my entire platoon will be beheaded. So it's like, this is hard stuff. It's not just changing who you're allied to, changing ideals in a snap moment, and making a choice to go with what you think is right based off of a very limited knowledge, but everything that's around you is showing you that I gotta save these kids, right? It's not just that, but it's like, I'm not the only one in danger here. I'm not the only one that could potentially be killed for this. I probably will be, and probably all the men that follow me or that are accompanied with me will too. Like, it's tough. Like, it's a huge decision that he's making here. And we watch him do the same thing in just a few minutes and just a few pages when we see a celestial dragon gleefully, happily ready to kill Kuma, Eva, Ginny, and the rest. And, oh man, I love this scene. And we see the children in the sights. We see Kuma. The sights are set on Kuma's chest. We see the children in his sights. We see the gun shoot. And then we see that it's Dragon that has shot the shot. And yeah, it was a tranquilizer. But he's gonna be killed for this if he doesn't get himself free. He's tried to free these children, or he's currently trying to free these children, and then he sees more children in danger, and he draws another line in the sand. Like, he's made his choice at this point. He knows there is no returning to the life he once had, and I think he's pretty okay with that after what he's seen up to this point. Really, what we're seeing right now is the turning point for Dragon. This is, we don't know how much time passes between, or at least I don't know, maybe you know, how much time passes between now and him actually establishing the Revolutionary Army, but we see where he is horrified by the company that he's been keeping, and the beginnings of him setting himself against them in seemingly small ways, though ways with great magnitude, obviously. Like, Shanks is a huge character of the story. Kuma and Eva will go on to save Luffy's life later on. Like, huge ripples, these choices that Dragon has made, but he doesn't know any of that. Dragon is making small choices that seem like they would affect very little, but it's just what feels right to him in the chaos and the evil and the horrors that he's seeing. He's just saying, I gotta do something. And he does something seemingly small, seemingly insignificant in this mass of bodies, in this mass of death and chaos and terror. He makes a small choice, a couple of small choices that have massive ripples in the world. A lot of times when a person makes a small choice in the midst of a horror storm and it feels like it's insignificant, they may not actually see the fruit of what they've done. They may not actually see the impact of what that small decision made. But Dragon will get to see that in the future. And I also think that that's a good thing for the readers to be reflecting on and seeing as well. But really the whole beginning of this chapter is Oda doing that thing that he does often, where he shows this wide scale, horrible, horrible thing that's happening, but he zooms in on the small testimonies. He zooms in on a few small people's lives that are being snuffed out. And we see the wickedness up close so that it affects us more. So that it's not just numbers, but it's lives. He does this really well with the family of 3. You know, these parents that will not abandon their child. Oh no, the kid's crying. That means we're all gonna die. But they cling to their child. They hold the child closer. As a parent, I can't imagine any other choice. And it's the choice that they make. And we get the bang, bang, bang. We get 3 shots fired, so we can kind of assume what happens next. And I do appreciate Oda's approach to things like that, where he makes clear what happened, and he lets that be enough. We've already seen the horrors. We've already seen the terror. We can fill in the gaps. It has the full impact that way. We see it again with the child up the tree. Sommers has created a thorn cushion for the child to fall onto, and he just eggs it on. Oh, he laughs, he revels in it, he thinks it's so delightful that this child has climbed up so high and has so far to fall onto his bed of cushions. He's excited to see a very sickening, potentially slow death for this very young child. And when a father comes to try to rescue his son, promises that he'll catch him, which means he has to throw himself on the bed of thorns, and you get the shunk sound effect. And Sommers is just, such a touching display. This is what he loves to see. This is the result of love that he enjoys. The pain associated with it. The painful things that you're willing to do for those that you love. And Oda, he goes back and forth between these parents sheltering their children, these people begging for mercy, for life, and the glee of the celestial dragons, the excitement and enjoyment that they get out of snuffing out these lives, out of hunting down these people in their terror. He took his time to make sure that we didn't miss the horrors that were happening. And all the while, we also see the snail cameras projecting it. We see, my understanding, it looks like it's only men out on out doing the manhunting, and it's women staying behind, watching the feed, cheering along, pleased. He takes a moment to show the full participation of everyone, all of the celestial dragons, in one way or another. We also see Gunko fully going after it all as well, using her powers, her unique powers to get a lot of points. We see her being a lower ranking, she's not a God's Knight at this point. But we also, even though she has a lower status or a lower ranking, we also see people speculating, I don't know, as far as outside of the family groupings, as far as an individual, Gunko could take the most points. And, we see that she is well suited for the hunt. The narrative framing of the entire first half of this chapter is very interesting to me, because easily we can all say the celestial dragons are the baddies, the world government is, we hate them. But it's also interesting the way that Oda has presented the Rocks Pirates and the Roger Pirates, because they are the Here Comes the Cavalry. They are the reprieve of... Oda takes a moment to really zoom in on the terror that's taking place on God Valley. And then when we're really sickened by everything that we're seeing, Then Oda presents the reprieve from the terror, which is the pirates are here. When the swell of music comes and hope enters the story, and everyone in the audience cheers and says, "Oh, good, something will make this better." Like, that climactic moment in storytelling is given to the pirates entering God Valley, which just has me saying, like, what happened? You know, like, why? It feels like everything that we knew about God Valley is just propaganda. Like, everyone turning on rocks, whatever happens with rocks, whatever happens with this battle, I don't know that we're gonna see what we went into this flashback thinking that we would see. We may see something completely different, and then see the newspapers print something opposite of what we see, which Oda's done a million times before, but everything that's led up to this, as well as the narrative framing of this, makes me think we may not see some big catastrophic turn in allyship, but instead just lies at the end of it all. I love the spread of Rock's pirates when they enter the scene and you get like a full look at everybody. You see everybody still being dumb about Shaggy. Like, you know, Rock's is like, let's ally together just for a time. Let's work together. We'll split the treasure. Of course, you can't split the devil fruits, so that's still going to cause some friction among them. You don't split Shaggy, guys. She's her own person. Let's remember that. Let's not be celestial dragons. They forgot. They're just still talking about, like, nah, I'll rescue her and then she'll pick me. Nah. Like, they're all still very individually driven, even as Rox is trying to unite them. She can speak, I promise. And then we see the opposite with Roger's crew, where they're supposed to be united, and Roger's just like, y'all are lame. Like, you're not gonna be able to get Shaggy. It'll be me. And then they all just mow over him, and they're like, we'll get Shaggy, right? So it's kind of a funny dynamic that Oda has drawn up here. But anyway, it does look like Rox is leading his crew. Follow my lead, Rox pirates. And like, it looks like they are. The Navy's trying to gather all the celestial dragons to the center of the island to protect them. And this distraction that has just, this disruption of the chaos has caused all eyes to be off Dragon. It's given him the opportunity to take the twins and run. We had a lot of discussion around the twins' demeanor when I was doing my reading with my patrons, and I don't know what Oda's going for here. There might be some kind of, like, there's something special about the kids and somehow they were cognizant of what was going on, and that's why they stayed silent when, you know, the other babies were crying, and that caused attention to be drawn to the parents. The opposite is happening in this situation. It's very possible that the kids are just in shock. They just witnessed their mother die, and then a stranger scooped them up and is now running away with them. They're essentially being kidnapped. And there's also a lot of noise and a lot of death happening around them. Like, this can send a child into shock. And so it's possible that they're just like, you know, I don't know. It's also possible that Oda just kept the kids quiet. Who's to say what's happening here? They are really cute kids, though. As all this chaos is happening and all the celestial dragons are being rounded up and all this kind of stuff, Figureland, we get a quick look at him. And what's his concern? I can't focus on the game. Like, we also get a really great spread of the Holy Knights of God. I love this woolly mammoth looking guy in the back, like the big teeth, lots of fur, big horns. He looks so fun. Like, he's my favorite right now. In a group of people that you should probably not have a favorite of, but I like his design. I also dig the guy with the skull mask. You know, he looks cool too. Anyway, I love Garp's introduction into the fight. You've got Whitebeard and the rest of them slicing through things, and then you just see the cannonball. He flings it, boom, big explosion, and then both Roger and Rox they both turn their attention. Like, oh, it's so good, it's so dramatic. And then you turn the page, or I guess this should be a spread, but I did read them separately. And then you turn the page, and there's Garp. I'm here, baby. Oh, sorry. Here I am, baby. And then you have the big reinforcements have arrived. It's Vice Admiral Garp. Yeah, we're safe. And again, narrative framing, quite interesting here, because this chapter began focusing in on the evils occurring on God Valley. and really just making us sit with it for a little bit longer than we're comfortable with. Good. And then we have the Here Comes the Cavalry, we have the swelling music, we have the relief from the terrors being rained, and we're happy to see the pirates come in. And then you have a similar narrative swell with Garp's entry, where it's this big moment, everyone's cheering, everyone's excited, but who's cheering but the ones that we previously were looking at and saying, oh, this is awful. So it's an interesting framework that Oda has gone with here, and we the readers can't help, or at least I couldn't help, but just be like, Garp, you knew this was happening, you know? And because the framework around Dragon is the turning point. I was a part of this institution, I saw the wickedness, and I had to turn. I had to make a stand. I had to change my direction, right? So that's the framework around Dragon's story that we're watching unfold here. And I just wonder if, because the way that Oda has presented Garp to us up to this point has been quite positive. You know, like, he's really made us love Garp. So I wonder if what we're going to witness here is Garp up to this point has been very avoidant. I'm aware that the God Valley, that I'm aware that the world government is about to do the thing that they do every 3 years. I'm going to go ahead and take my vacation time so I don't have to look at it. Very common human response. If I just don't look at it, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to do anything about it, right? So he's had this avoidant, I'll take my vacation time during that thing that happens every 3 years. But because Roger's here, he shows up. And here he's gleeful. He's like, let's go. I'm going to fight Roger. And I wonder if his story is going to be, now he has to look at it. And maybe that's when he makes the decision, I gotta stay, and I gotta train up the next generation. Because Garp's story his emphasis has largely been on, we need to move aside and make room for the next generation. That's been like the big emphasis on what Garp has been teaching in the influence, in the circles of influence that he has. And he's been training up the younger generation to be more reflective of his ideals, training them up to be better than the last generation. So I wonder if the framework that we're going to see around Garp's story here is not necessarily that he's the hero of God Valley, but instead that, or at least individually, you know, what we're going to see from who knows what he's going to do in God Valley, who knows how it's going to be framed in the news cycle. Well, we know, anyway, beyond what we know. I won't speculate, but I wonder if, at least on an individual level, on an internal level, what we'll see is him finally having to sit and look real close at it, like we've been made to do at the beginning of this chapter, and then make a decision, change his trajectory from, I'll just look away because it's easier, to it's time to get to work. We need the last generation to step aside, and we need the new generation to rise up and take control. And I'm going to train up the next generation to be better than what I and what we have been. This is me looking into the future in a very charitable light toward Garp, but I do think that Oda has framed Garp in a way that allows me to anticipate something like that. I don't know if that's exactly what he'll do, and I am very curious exactly what he'll do, because this is evil, and Garp was aware of it, so I'm curious to see what Oda does next. We have seen him actively training up the younger generation in a certain kind of way, and putting emphasis on, we step aside, they step up. So I just wonder if this will be his turning point too. And again, I'll point out to you, and I said it in the last chapter, again, I'll say, Big Mom, she doesn't seem like the Big Mom that we know on Whole Cake Island. So while we watch Garp potentially, and Dragon certainly, make a stand and make a choice on how they're going to respond to what they're witnessing, I wonder if we're gonna watch Big Mom snap. Maybe when she watches rocks die, maybe something else. I'm just saying, like, I wonder how many people are going to have a drastic change coming out of this flashback. I don't know. I find it all really interesting. I'm really enjoying everything that I'm reading right now. Please chat with me more about this chapter in the comments. Talk to me about stuff I didn't talk about. Talk to me about the stuff that I did. Give me your perspective, your response. I'd love to hear it. I'll see you again soon. Bye.